The most notable difference between the KD5 and the KD5 Elite is obviously its collar height. Other than that, the performance differences and changes and the way that they actually did perform are very, very small. The traction pattern overall is the same. The only real difference is that this pattern here is a little bit more shallow, meaning that the cutouts are not as raised as this one here. But at the same token, this is a much more dense rubber. It's very hard and not very pliable, whereas this one is very soft and pliable. So this might be a better option for outdoor usage, while these ones work perfectly indoors. If you do use these outdoors, you might want to either go with a Nike ID and XDR outsole, or just go ahead and take your chances, or just use them indoor altogether. The cushion was also one of the things that was changed. It's not very noticeable in my personal opinion. This one here had the Air Max heel unit, and these guys here have cage zoom. Having Zoom Air is great. It's very responsive and squishy. Having Zoom Air caged literally almost mimics a Max Air unit, whereas you don't get that as responsive feel because the unit is caged in there, so it doesn't squish down, compress, and then reflect the energy like a normal Zoom unit would, which is basically what a Max Air unit does. So in my opinion, it was almost identical. Now the forefoot is where the cushion really changed. This one I can actually feel. This one I could not. In terms of actual cushion and playability, I felt like the KD5 was very, very similar to the KD4, and that is definitely a drawback for me. The overall materials used on the KD5 were fuse base upper, and then this guy here is essentially the same thing, but it does have flywire cables throughout. They're both pretty pliable, and in my personal opinion, there really wasn't any real changes in terms of performance. So performance-wise, the materials are both great. They're both durable, and they're both pliable, so you're going to get pretty much the same exact performance no matter which one you choose. Now the overall fit and containment I felt was perfect on the KD5. I did go down half a size for that perfect fit and containment, and it worked perfectly fine. This guy here I actually went true to size, and again they fit perfectly fine. So I would go with your true size here. If you do have wide feet, go up half a size. And other than that, I thought that the fit, lockdown, everything was literally perfect in both shoes. I know that this one here is a low top and this one is not. However, this one secures your foot just as good as this one. If anything, this one might be slightly better just because the carbon fiber on the back isn't as pliable, which you can see here, as the foam casing, which you can see the difference. But personally, I just feel like the performance on both was perfectly fine. Now the ventilation on the KD5 obviously is not great. You have just a couple of vents right here, and other than that, that's pretty much it. So ventilation essentially sucked. The ventilation on here was pretty much stripped off of the entire upper. I know that there's these holes here, but they actually didn't do anything, and instead they put it along the tongue here. This actually does allow for heat to escape a lot better than the vents on the side, and it allowed for a little bit of airflow. Was it enough to really have any real significant change? No, not really. The overall support in the KD5 was pretty much perfect. Once again, lockdown, fit, all of that stuff was great. Same thing with the KD5 Elite. It was pretty much perfect, especially once it was laced in. You were perfectly fine. The one thing that I will say is that again, the carbon fiber on the back here is just a little bit more resilient than the foam that was used on the back. However, they both received perfect scores. So the traction overall on the KD5 was a perfect 10 out of 10, and on the KD5 Elite I would also give it a 10 out of 10. The cushion for the KD5 was given a 9.5 originally, and with this year's version of the Elite I actually dropped it all the way down to a 7 based on that forefoot cushion. I just couldn't feel it, and it was honestly not the best Zoom Air experience. It was probably one of the worst. The overall materials both got 10 out of 10 in the KD and the KD5 Elite. The overall fit is also the same, 10 in the KD5 and a solid 10 in the KD5 Elite. Ventilation in the KD5 was given a 4, and in the KD5 Elite I gave it one step up just because of the placement of the ventilation, and it was a little bit more airy just in that one section, so I gave this a 5. Support in both shoes was great. This guy here got a solid 10, and this guy here got a solid 10 as well. Personally, which one would I choose to play in?